What's up, family? It is your man, Courtney Robert Brown Jr. here at Motown Mafia Podcast, sponsored by Big Boss Filmworks. I am here with my friend, my brother, my business partner, the other half of Big Boss Filmworks, Big Lou Stevens. How you feeling, brother?
Man, I'm loving life, man.
You good?
I'm good, bro.
Yeah, man. It is a blessing to be here doing this thing, man. And we want to again thank out to everybody. About to hit another milestone
Yes.
on the channel. So shout out to everybody. And on that note, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button so that we can get our algorithm up.
And smash that notification bell.
Yeah, man. So you guys will know when we're dropping some stuff, and because we have a lot of stuff that we're about to drop. But we had did a post, Lou. A couple weeks ago. We were just chopping it up, and we were talking about the 10 Crack Commandments, because there was an organization here in Detroit, the Chambers organization. Shout out, in fact, brother Troy from the Nation here just to come by. And he had a conversation with Larry Chambers, the famed Chambers family.
Yeah.
Actually, a couple of years ago, Larry had reached out to me, and we would talk about. He was talking about a book and some other things. So, shout out to that whole Detroit crew, the Chambers crew. But the Biggie had, in legend, been somewhat inspired by the Chambers family, because when they were raided, there was actually kind of had a list of rules that that their organization applied by,
Right.
that some believe was the motivation or the inspiration for his famous song, the 10
10 Crack Commandments, yeah.
Right? And you were saying a commenter also said,
One of our commenters had brought up that this was also before the actual song. It was in the Source magazine back in 1994.
all right, shout out to the source. Shout out to Benzino. You know, a friend, and mentioned, I saw, in fact, last time I saw Benzino on somebody's platform, he was wearing a b.i.g jacket that I believe is somewhat sponsored by Mr. Cooper and his crew. That would be AKA Pep. Shout out to Pep. Shout out to Fat Steve. Gonna stay on all of you guys from that YBI era that you guys we need to link up. Hope all is well with that crew out there. Shout out to Scotty D. Shout out to the Hut. All those guys. Again, YBI, Motown Mafia.
Yeah.
It's our turn, guys.
Yeah.
But so the guy was saying that it was an article in the Source.
It was an article in the Source. Obviously, yeah, it was an inspiration, but they didn't go into as much detail as Big went into. I mean, Big gave that whole article life.
Okay. So on that note, we want to break it down, because
let's break it down.
All right. So
I mean, it's a timeless classic.
yes. In fact, what does he start off with? I've been in this game for years. It made me an animal. It's rules to this shit. I wrote me a manual. Right? A step-by-step booklet for you to get your game on track, not your wig pushed back.
Right.
That guy was just something special.
Yeah.
Yeah. R.I.P. Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls.
Big, man.
Big up to the Big. I mean,
R.I.P.
just, the time when he came out again, I remember, before we get into the story, we were, kind of top of the world when the whole Bag Boy thing started, 93. I'm living in New York, and I remember coming home, because they were already popping it on the radio, and my friends heard me just singing to myself.
Right.
And I was saying, birthdays was our worst days. Now we sip champagne when we thirsty. And they was like, what's the shit you just said? I was like, birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we thirsty. And it's like, where you get that from? I was like, man, it's this cat in New York. Y'all don't hear about him.
Right.
They call him Biggie Small.
Yeah.
This guy got it.
Yeah.
This guy got it. Little did I know how much he really.
When you were staying in New York, was he just Biggie Smalls, or had he made the name change to Notorious Big? Because I know he did catch a lawsuit over that name.
No, he was Biggie Small. That was before.
Okay.
Because shout out, and glad you're home, Mr. Cosby. But yeah, I believe it. I don't know if it was Bill Cosby directly or he's got a big organization.
Right.
Someone in his organization, because that character, the Biggie Small character,
Oh.
comes from Bill Cosby's Uptown
Oh.
Saturday Night,
Oh.
and I
Okay.
believe that those names were
No,
trademarked.
it was actually it's actually an artist. And I think he's in he was in Cali at the time.
Really?
Yeah, named Biggie Smalls, and it was with a Z, but it was so close that he wound up giving him the cease and desist.
Well, I know it worked.
Yeah.
Okay, so see, street urban legend gone wrong. I thought it was Cosby because if you guys have never seen that old classic
Yeah.
from the '70s, Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier,
Yeah.
all those OGs.
Uptown Saturday Night.
Biggie,
Classic.
Biggie Small and Little Seymour.
Yo, come on now.
Richard Pryor,
Yeah.
classic.
Hey, he had the Coogee sweater later on down the
Well,
line.
and shout out to who was that? That was Blues Man. Leon Blue Jr. Big guy was up in Harlem in the same time. He had a man named EU, and when I dropped those Coogee sweaters, and that was the line. They'd walk by the store and they'd be like, "Doing better now, Coogee sweaters now."
right?
Yeah. All right, but let's get into it, fam. Rule number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. That's rule number 2. Rule number uno is actually how he puts it. Rule number uno: never let nobody know how much dough you hold. That cheddar breed jealousy. If that man fucked up, get your ass stuck up. On that commandment, I would say again, relatively true.
True. Okay.
Now, again, we're gonna try to give a little nuance, as they would put, to this statement, right? If you copping from me, you know how much you spending with me.
Right.
The realities of how these things work in the real world is, and you probably know 3 or 4 other guys who I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So you do know pretty much how much I'm making, or you have a ballpark figure how much money I'm making. But Notorious b.i.g. is right. You do not want to make a habit of bragging about how much money you got, because as we was just speaking off camera,
Yeah.
if I got my cousin holding $500,000 of my money, if I go around telling people that, you're gonna end up with one of those mini urban tragedies, or you called it the paid in full syndrome.
Yeah, the paid in full.
So no, you can't make a habit of letting people know exactly the kind of bread when you're handling real bread, because you will cost yourself and probably your loved ones. But on the flip side, the reality is the streets know when the bag is getting moved.
That's right.
But he's right on that. Do not make a habit, and that, I'm gonna tell you, that ain't just in the streets.
Right.
That's in square business or wherever.
Yeah.
Unless you're a publicly traded company and you gotta release your books, nobody should really know exactly how much you're making.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that cheddar does breed jealousy.
And stay off social media with that, please.
Oh, that's
Please
just.
stay off social media with what you making, man.
I mean, that's a whole nother post.
With the no disrespect, but the guys with the telephone.
Well, we'll get in. That's another song, because we're gonna do some song reviews.
Yeah. This is dropping gems, by the way, folks.
Yeah, what your man Hov saying, 444. You got money to your ear. Now you're on the gram with money to your ear. There's a disconnect. That ain't money over here.
Right.
So yeah, bro, I said this for that little 5,000, 10,000. Your hands ain't big enough to put no real money against your ear.
Yeah.
So whatever money you can put up to your ear and act like it's a phone, it ain't that much.
A wise man told me if you can count it, you ain't got that much.
And if it can fit on your person,
Yeah.
you ain't got that much.
No.
And I'm talking about in hundreds. I mean, because $10,000 in hundreds only about this.
Yeah.
About this big. So let's see. $10,000 can buy you one Mercedes-Benz rim and wheel.
About that.
It's not even 10% down payment on a $100,000 house.
Not at all.
Yeah. But anyway, different conversation, different style. But yes, rule uno: never let nobody know how much dough you hold. I think that applies to the streets and life in general. Again, unless you Warren Buffett or Jay-Z or somebody like that, where your business is all documented, so people are going to end up knowing how much money you made, how much your net worth is. then that's not a good policy. I will sign off that rule number 1 of 10 crack commandments is a solid rule.
That's a solid rule.
Alrighty. Yeah. We got rule number 2. Never let them know your next move. Don't you know bad boys move in silence and violence? Take it from your highness. Very clever line. Don't know how much real street wisdom is within those lines.
Right.
Never let them know your next move. Well, again, nuance. You should not make a habit of letting people know, like we were joking. You don't go around telling people, I'm on my way to Miami to get the bag. Right. I'll be good on Friday. Right. But the reality is you're meeting somebody in Miami, so they know you're coming. Mm-hmm. If you got people watching your back, they got to know where you're going and what you're doing. You got to have some people that you tell if some shit goes south and you don't hear from me in 2 days, I went to Miami to do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. This is what the follow-up moves should look like.
No man is an island.
Yeah, I mean, if you can hustle in a fashion or run whatever business you're involved in a fashion where you don't have to share any of your information with anybody else, you can't be doing too much of nothing.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
I mean, that, again, these rules apply not just to the hustle world, but to the legitimate world too. And that's why a lot of people actually do stay small in the hustle game, and because they don't,
in legit business.
Yeah, they don't let anybody know their next move. Because if you did tell your OG that you about to go meet this guy that you got referred to, and you about to sell him a half a brick, maybe your OG would say, "Man, you shouldn't be selling to strangers." Sometimes it is best to let somebody know your next move, and have some people around you who might be able to tell you if your next move is a bad move. So, to me, Lou, That's a very clever line. It sounds good.
Yeah.
But that's another one of those examples. Sometimes hip-hop lyrics could lead the naive mind in a bad direction.
Into peril.
Into peril. Okay. Number 3, never trust nobody. Your moms will have that ass set up, properly gassed up, hoodied and masked up. Shit for that fast buck. She be laying in the bushes to light that ass up.
That is, yeah.
Again, very clever lyrics. Mm-hmm. Sounds really fly.
Right. Right. I chuckle every time I hear that line.
Absolutely has no real basis in reality.
Right.
You're going to, if you're in business or in the streets, you're going to have to trust a few people. I was given the classic example. If you say you're in the streets, right, you're going to keep the money and the dope at your house. You're going to keep a couple bricks at your house and keep a couple $100,000 at your house. Now, people do that, and of course, that's why they end up going to jail for 30 years and don't have any money or product, because you can't tell the police that $300,000 came from your car wash when it was found next to 4 bricks, right? Mm-hmm. The money's going to get forfeited and seized. The dope's going to go, and they're going to have an open and shut case against you. So wiser people do find some people they can trust, and they hold the money and they hold the product, because money and product should never be in the same room at the same time, because why lose everything, right? And again, even if you're in the legitimate world, if you run a bar or a strip club, you're going to keep all the money. So you don't want to put all the money in the bank. We won't get into some of the taxable reasons why you might not want to put every deposit you make into the bank if you're in a cash business like a strip bar. And you're going to keep all the money at your house?
It's called a drop.
So again, on that one, number 3 from the Notorious one, Lou. I think it was great lyrics.
Yeah, it was just clever lyrics.
And
really that's what separates the streets from rappers. When it comes to the wordplay, you say what sounds good.
And it's a hot line.
It's a hot line. I mean,
I just be fearful that some people be hearing those lines and take them
for church,
for literal meaning.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Rule number 4. I know you heard it before. Never get high on your own supply. Only thing I can say on rule number 4 is facts.
Baptist.
they told me, and I didn't always adhere to this,
Mm-hmm.
that getting high was for suckers. First off, that if you in this shit and if you throwing rocks at the penitentiary, why the hell are you consuming the same shit you selling? You know, some of the best bar owners I know don't drink.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, exactly.
And if they do, they literally buy their own drinks from their own bar because they don't get high on their own supply. And the guys I know who do fuck around a little bit, again, they buy it from themselves.
Right.
You know, you cannot make a habit of consuming your own product. You can't wear all your own clothes or you can't wear all your own shoes if you in the shoe business. Then you're gonna end up one day with more shoes in your closet than you got at your store. If you're selling wigs and weaves, you can't take every inventory that comes in, sisters, and put it on your hair and give it out to your friends.
Right.
Because eventually you're gonna have more hair and wigs in the streets again than you got in your shop. That line, of course, made famous again. Well, Scarface came out before Biggie, so actually, I think that line was made famous during a Frank Lopez, Tony Montana speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Well, you know, Frank's like, rule number one, never underestimate the other guy's greed.
Yeah.
And rule number two, never get high
Right,
on your own supply.
Right.
But that's sound advice. That is very sound advice. Rule number 5, never sell crack where you rest at. I don't care if they want an ounce. Tell them to bounce. I get the realities of it again in this. My brother's in a startup position often, and he's usually selling in his neighborhood. He is the local provider of that commodity to his block.
Mm-hmm.
Often he is doing business at the same place he rests his head. But Notorious is right. That is a recipe for disaster.
You don't want to do that.
You do not want to do that.
You don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. Home-based businesses in general are problematic. Definitely crack-based home-based businesses are very problematic.
Yeah.
In that your house will not be your house. It really becomes your place of business.
Yeah.
And houses, by I think old school terms, are places where family and children frequent. And if you got your woman and your kids all in the mix to your hustle, I would just say that you probably want to reevaluate that.
Absolutely.
People knowing where you live at, and that was true back in the day, and in today's world,
oh, even more so. Oh my God.
you know, growing up, there was never any drugs at the house. Mm-hmm. You know, and Pops and Eddie Day, and you know, in the midst of the grand hustle, that stuff was kept in the streets. Mm-hmm. You should not be bringing your business home to where your woman and your kids rest their head at. And he right on that. I don't care if they want an ounce. I don't care if they got money for 100 bricks and you know it's a real deal. If it's got to happen at the same place where my kids rest their head and my wife cook my food, we don't need to do that deal.
Right.
That needs to happen someplace else. So that's true. And again, that's just true. Home-based businesses in general are problematic. It's a business where consumers actually come to your home. Because I know of tragedies that have happened, non-drug related things, when people come to other people's homes and you end up having a problem with a customer. Now they know where you live, and now you could be selling Avon,
Yeah.
or lipstick or whatever, and you know you have one issue with one customer, and they know where you live at. So I know it's an expense, whether you're in the streets or legit, but have a place to do business at it if you're gonna. And if you got to meet clients, I remember when you was coming up, you know, meet your clients at Starbucks, meet them someplace else, but don't have them come to your house.
As a graphic designer and, you know, just all around creative, you got to really keep a buffer. You got to have that buffer where, you know, you have a mutual location. Because truthfully, in any business, anything can go south. You don't know if you're getting set up or, you know, your family or whatnot. They might say, oh, he has the best, you know, fill in the blank. Yeah, we're going to go to his house and get him there, you know. So you really got to keep it somewhere. Or, you know, they sell those offices.
Yeah, I mean, you know, my day, you know, the way I was brought up, you know, when I would leave the block, you know, Pops had schooled us, you know, you can't like go straight home. You know, if I leave the block, I got to go drive to Belle and go down to the Renaissance, stop someplace, grab a pizza. Because if somebody's following me back home, I'm leading them right back to where my people
Directly
is at.
home. Exactly.
So, that's a freebie. You guys can send me a donation if I just saved you some stress. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
leave high volatile areas and go straight home.
Especially if you own a business, whatever kind of business, and you're seen in and out, pick a different direction every day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the world is dangerous like that, but it's been like that. And banks got security protocols. Small business people, again, whether you're in the streets or just running a mom and pop operation, you should have some kind of security protocols. So, on that, rule number 5, never sell crack where you rest your head at. I think Biggie was giving out some true gems.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
true gems.
Yeah. Big
Number
time.
6, that goddamn credit. Dead it. You think a crackhead paying you back? Shit, forget that. We've preached on this for a minute, Lou.
Mm-hmm.
There are people called bankers who have been at it for a long time. They got rules to banking, and banks make money by lending out money and people paying them back interest.
Mm-hmm.
And banks like to only lend out money to people who have a proven track record of paying them back.
Right.
That's why most of you can't go to Bank of America and Chase tomorrow and go in there and come out with some money that is not your own, because you don't have a big enough or long enough track record of taking out debts and repaying them promptly. Now, we in the streets often disregard some of those basic banking principles. Now, I tell you, there's been some street people I've known who had issues, but they were men and women of their name.
Right.
If they said they was going to pay you back on the first of the month, they did. I would say, though, that the majority of people
Mm-hmm.
that are given credit tend to, for whatever reason, not be able to pay it back. Or what you will set up is called a revolving account, which is not a bad thing in business. And when I say that, I mean you loan them 100, they pay you back the 100, but then the next day they borrow another 100. 2 weeks later, they repay you the 100, then they borrow another 100, and that is reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the business side of it, man, giving out credit just creates a lot of stress in business.
Yeah.
You know, it is necessary. Credit can really help a business grow fast.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot give out more credit than you can afford to not have repaid.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure in your affairs, you've done work on a promise, on a promise of a payment.
There's been a couple of times you get burnt like a couple of times, and you figure it out. and my doing DJing. Oh God, yeah, I got burnt a couple of times doing that off of, hey, I got you at the end of the run. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry.
First rules to know that you should worry is when someone tells you, "Don't worry concerning money."
And I mean, truthfully, if you're in business or if you're gonna get burnt, it's like a baptism or a rite of passage. It's gonna happen.
Well, again, all jokes aside. I mean, it is basic. Chase Bank knows that if they finance 10 people's cars, one out of those 10 people are not going to pay them back for that car.
That's right.
They know if they give out 10 people credit cards, somebody's going to run up that credit card to the limit and then stop paying.
That's gonna happen.
So they calculate all that in their business, which is why Chase doesn't go around killing people who don't pay them back, because they actually have handled it like a business, not a personal affair.
Mm-hmm.
In our community, it get all about ego, this, that, and the third. He
Right.
owe me. He think I'm soft. He
Right.
think I'm a bitch.
You
can't
tested my manhood
and all that. When in reality, it's just business, man. You don't lend out things you can't afford. The person didn't steal it from you. You gave it to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was rule number 6. I think that's good sound advice again from the Notorious one.
Mm-hmm.
That damn credit debit. Got to be really careful. Really careful. I'm not saying it can't happen again. Pop's history. But look at his resume. Why people were fronting him
Right.
that kind of inventory.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been the recipient of in my business career of many suppliers who found me responsible enough and trustworthy enough to give me large sums of inventory on credit, and I made true to that. And I'm not. God is good. I may be more the exception than the rule. And each one of those suppliers, when I would listen to the other stories of other people they did the same for, and of course then your reputation gets. He's a good guy. He's good to his word. Then once you pay back a few suppliers, guess what? Suppliers know suppliers. Then they're all like, well, we should do business with him because he's trustworthy, right?
That's right.
All right. Rule number 7. Notorious says this rule is so underrated. Keep your family and your business completely separated. Money and blood don't mix. Like 2 chicks and no dick. Loved that line. Loved that line. I don't know in today's world if you can say that. I don't know if he can make that line today. But anyway, different issue.
Yeah, different issue.
Different issue. But I don't think it's, again, very much real street knowledge in that. Rule number 7, this rule is so underrated. Keep your family and your business completely separated. In reality, most of the people you're going to do business with, if you're talking about street business, now this is where corporate business is different, but even in mom and pop legitimate business and surely in street business, the people you're going to really be doing business with are going to be your family and friends.
That's right.
And to a certain extent, who should you be able to trust more than your family and friends? But we all know that all family is not created equal and all friends are not created equal.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think you could look into that statement of keeping your families and friends separated, that business still is business, which means you're my favorite cousin.
Mm-hmm.
I know you got issues. You can't handle your own money.
Mm-hmm.
So if I give you my money or my product, bringing you into this situation because you family is going to be a disaster. And now we're going to fall out. Now family going to fall out. Mm-hmm. How many family squabbles and quarrels have you heard over about money? Aunties not talking to sisters and cousins, all of this over some money when somebody had to have the sense to say, like my rule is I don't loan family money.
Right.
If I can, I'll give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be talking about I'm collected, and that's really my thing with debt and with family and friends and money. I don't loan money to my family and friends. If I can afford it, I just give it to them.
Just give it to them. You already know what comes.
And then I can sleep at night. They ain't got to duck me. Mm-hmm. We don't have no friction at the Christmas dinner. Mm-hmm. It just is what it is. You was in a tough spot. I had a couple extra bucks. I could help.
Yeah, and how many crews got brothers in the title? You know what I'm saying? Family. I mean, that's what the mafia is based off of.
It's family.
It's family.
Yeah. I mean, and half all the people that Pops dealt with were his in-laws, not actually his blood family, but my mom's side of the family.
Right.
So again, clever line. Number 7, keep your family and your business completely separated. Money and blood don't mix like 2 dicks and no bitch. Great line. Loved it first time I heard it.
Right.
I don't know who really in reality, though, you're going to be doing business with, because this game, that real game that's out there, trust is so paramount.
Yeah.
And meeting new people that you can bring into your life who you are trusting with your life and with your freedom. I mean, at least me, I always felt a lot more comfortable. And my clique in the family.
Yeah.
We known each other all our lives, like long before there was any money or drugs or women and all that. Our relationships were already founded. So there's a different trust level.
Well, like your friend said about doing business with people.
Yeah, shout out HT Sweetness.
Yeah.
HT Sweetness. Sweetness had a rule just about doing business with people in general, not just illicit business, but his rule about really doing business with people, that if you ain't like cool enough to come to my mom's house for dinner, then I should think about doing financial transactions with you.
That's right.
And there's something to that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember headed to Georgia to one of the film festivals. When you were speaking to me, you said, my circle is very small. as far as friends are concerned, it's like I don't have a lot of new friends.
None.
Right.
You may be my newest friend.
That's what I'm saying.
We've been friends 20 years,
20
and
years.
I think you my newest friend.
That's right. There you go.
Literally.
Literally. Exactly. That stuck with me.
Yeah. The same people I hang out with now, I was hanging out with before I had driver's license.
Yeah, see?
Some of them, we go back to second grade.
Yeah.
But and that has a lot to do with why I'm here and not some other places that I could have been.
Right.
And why did our circle, why a lot of our circle has had the longevity and prosperity that they've had, is we talk to everybody, we tried to be cool with everybody, but we ain't doing business with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, and Pops and them was definitely the same way, his whole crew, again, plug, read Motown Mafia, Memoirs of a Kingpin's Kid, available on Amazon, and the documentary that spun off, award-winning on Tubi and Amazon Prime. But again, the Eddie Jackson Organization, all the guys, the charter members, right?
All from the Black Bottom, Paradise Valley.
All from childhood.
Yeah.
So when Eddie started his ascension and he starts handling all this money, who else is he going to trust and bring in but people who he's knew his whole life? Not only that, of course, these people's characters. We knew which one of our friends and family was good for the muscle, which ones were good for holding money, which ones would be good for selling. You know people, so you can put them in areas and things where they can succeed. And again, that doesn't just apply to the street business. If you got a cousin who's a great hype person or just a real people kind of person, and you got a business going, you want them to be out promoting your business. You don't want them to be the cashier at your store.
Right.
Because you know that them and money just don't get along, but that they're great with people and everybody likes them, and they'd be a great mouthpiece or promoter for your business. And same kind of thing. You know which one of your family members got issues. If you give them the bag, it's going to end up being trouble.
Yeah.
But that don't mean you can't find something for them to do. Maybe they need to be your driver.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to be somebody who just runs errands for you.
Yeah.
And you can figure out a way to put them on the payroll, make them protective, be family with them, but not be part of being family is protecting people from themselves.
Protecting them from themselves. Exactly.
So, hear what you were saying, Biggie. Love the line again, number 7, but yeah, you gotta end doing family business with your family and friends. That's just that. Number 8, never keep no weight on you. Let them cats that squeeze your guns hold them jumps too. Sound good again. In general, nobody wants to carry large sums of narcotics on their possession any longer than is necessary.
Right.
Even when you build a big organization, Pops in them, there are times, in fact, the raid on Hubble, right?
Right.
The biggest raid in Detroit history. My father and Eddie and the Weaver brothers were caught there in the house with 10 kilos of China White that they were going to hit and mix and put a 10 on it and then have 100 kilos of China White.
Oh, see?
So the indictment, the raid that spoke about it again in Motown Mafia, Memoirs of a Kingpin's Kid. Again, that was December 15th, 1971. Largest heroin seizure in the history of Michigan. The two principal characters, Eddie Jackson, the fat man, and my father, the field marshal, were in the house when the feds, due to it being tipped off. So that's testifying to what Biggie is saying. You don't really want to do that.
Right.
Thing is, when large shipments and things like that are there, sometimes the principals have to be there to make sure that everything is everything. And again, that doesn't always even apply to the street world, but really the street world in reality. I mean, you know, very few can insulate themselves in the black and brown community to where they, and at some given time, their product are not in the same location. But that is not something you do. I do get where Biggie was coming from with that. You don't want to be sleeping or holding.
Right.
If you the man and everybody know you the man, you don't need to be in the same proximity of the bag.
Right.
Very, very often, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've heard of bad outcomes, right?
Oh, no question about it. Seen a few.
Seen a few bad outcomes when that happens. What Biggie say about number 9? Number 9 should been number 1 to me. If you ain't getting bags, stay the fuck from the police. If niggas think you snitching, they ain't trying to listen. Be sitting in your kitchen, waiting to start hitting. I think this one may go also under facts.
That's church.
And church.
I mean, that's about as self-explanatory as it gets.
Oh man, back in the day, man, I be looking back, listening to some of this shit, brothers. Brothers do have no man. Nigga get pulled over and be getting a traffic ticket. And niggas be like, man, you was talking to police a long time. It was, you know what I'm saying? Be like, they was writing him a ticket. I don't know, man. Yeah, it'll take that long. They write no ticket, man. What you talking about? What's all that about? You'd be like, oh wow, wow, yeah. So yeah, just on that one, facts. If you live in that kind of lifestyle, there's no good reason for you to be talking to the police. Even if you're paying the police, if you seen talking to the police, you should explain to the people around you why you're having conversations with them. And many people have had the police on their payroll. Mm-hmm. Because brothers don't be having a lot of understanding. Connects and plugs don't have a lot of understanding for doing business with people who are having conversations with law authorities.
Yeah.
So that was it. And last but not least, number 10, a strong word called consignment, strictly for live men, not for freshmen. If you ain't got the clientele, say hell no, because they going to want their money, rain, sleet, hell, snow.
See?
Church and facts.
See?
Again, we was talking off camera, the lure for the money and the lifestyle that the streets can, at least for when things are going good, avail themselves, cause brothers to overpromise and underperform. And as I said, so many times I've heard or seen brothers with their words, they become artists. They just paint a picture. And the picture and they say all the things that you just want to hear. They say all the things the plug want to hear. They got the spot that's booming. They just can't keep it supplied. They got family in Cleveland that's coming to town once a month looking for work.
Yeah, see.
They got 10 homeboys that's moving the crowd, hitting them up every day, asking what's popping, what they hitting for. All they need is access to your bag. But given the situation right now, they money a little fucked up.
Right.
So they ain't got money to buy it. Always. Money ain't never right. They need a front. As Notorious calls it, they need that strong word called consignment. And he has a little phrase. He says, consignment, strictly a word for live men, not for freshmen. Both sides of it. Somebody who new to the game, do not give them credit. Because the mistakes they're going to learn is going to be on your dime and on your money.
That's right.
The guy has got a track record, and he is, as Notorious calls him, a live man. That this guy has been around the block. He has dealt with X, Y, and Z and shown himself to be worthy. That's a different issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your dad.
My dad, 3 different international connects who started off the process, the Nigerian plug, Mr. B and the island plug, and then the Pakistani plug, where the first transaction was 10 bricks of that Lebanese brown untouched. $1 million consignment is how the relationship began.
There you go.
But this again is a man who'd already done time, who had already been through a 8-year legal battle with the authorities, had already reigned as the number 2 man to the Eddie Jackson organization. Him and his crew had already shown that they did not make their problems their plug's problem. And he had done time with the plug.
Right.
So, yeah, if a person checks all those boxes, they've ran and assisted in running $1 million organizations. You've done time with them and seen what kind of character they are.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can think about giving them some consignment.
Yeah.
But if it's your man and he heard that so and so is looking for such and such,
Mm-hmm.
because wow, I mean, so many deaths, man. All jokes aside, so many deaths out of people being given bags that they mismanaged. But the truth of it be, they never should have been given the bag from the beginning.
First place.
Because Pops was like, if a guy run off, we give him some credit and he don't pay. Charges the game, we just ain't gonna do business with him no more. I made a bad loan. He always saw it kind of as a business. He said the fat man, it kind of always had the same view. We ain't gonna kill everybody who don't pay us. We just ain't gonna give. First, I ain't gonna give you enough to hurt me anyway.
Okay.
Second, if shit happens, you can't every transaction that go bad, you gonna kill everybody who don't pay you back. Now what you gonna have? If you're dealing with us, you're gonna deal with a 50% default rate. You're gonna catch 10 bodies over 10 bags. Now you went from drug dealer to killer.
To sociopath.
Once again, now we see why the jail's so full.
Yeah.
Because some of us be feeling some kind of way, or be real. You done gave away on credit something that you really couldn't afford to give on credit. So when they don't pay you, now you in such a tripped out space because you really need that bread to do what you need to do. So now the threats start. Then on the flip side, new school, they kill you because they owe you, not to pay you.
Right.
Not to,
what they say, ran off with the plug.
Oh, they gonna run off with and now that's become actually a fashionable thing.
Right.
So so I will just attest again. Rule number 10: strong word called consignment, strictly for live men, not for freshmen. If you ain't got the clientele, Biggie writes, say no, because it's true. They gonna want their money. Rain, sleet, hell, snow. Follow these rules, you'll have mad bread to break up. If not, 24 years on the wake up. Say you're going to be in that joint.
You're going to be on yeah.
Slug hit the temple. Watch the frame shake up. Caretaker did the makeup. When you passed, your girl fucked my man Jake. Heard in 3 weeks she sniffed the whole cake up. Heard she suck a good dick and can hook up a steak. Gotta go. Got more pies to break up. Word up. The Notorious one. Rest in peace again. Classic songs. Classic street song, Lou.
Classic street song.
So I hope you guys had some fun with that.
Oh, yeah.
I hope we gave you guys something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good call, Lou.
Man.
10 crack commandments.
Yeah. That's the
So let us know, family, if you guys kind of found that interesting or entertaining, liked our insights on that. There's so many classic songs, particularly from that era.
Oh, yeah.
Our era that we can continue to dissect and go into.
If you got some requests, drop them in the comments.
Yeah. If you heard a line and want to know, at least from our perspective, again, somebody who was kind of born in this thing.
Yeah. What's his name? I listen to some of the new stuff out. I like Griselda. I like what they're doing. Benny the Butcher. If you get a chance, check out his sequel to the 10 Crack Commandments. Puffy's in the song too, doing this
right?
Puffy thing. Yeah, it's sweet. You got
I gotta check that
out. It's basically an updated version, but I really like the things that they do.
All right, so it's good. There's still some wisdom being dropped out there.
Absolutely.
All right, family. It is your man, CB, the other man.
All right, this is Lou.
Big Boss Filmworks, Motown Mafia Podcast.
Watch for Making the Mafia coming soon. Check and get ready to join the Patreon. And we got some more hot stuff coming. We got the Motown Mafia sequel and update.
That got some hip hop artists gonna be in town. Can't do the spoiler alert.
No spoilers.
The pod, we about to take this thing to a new level. And again, appreciate all the guys out there. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. So holla at your man, CB Jr. Big Lou. Peace. It was just time to really tell a great untold Detroit story, because it kind of covers Detroit at its zenith.
Very interesting story.
We decided that we were going to make a movie.
All right, Rich Rossi with you with Motown Mafia. I'm with Courtney.
Lewis Stevens.
Lewis Stevens, Courtney Brown.
Courtney Brown Jr.
And Alan Al Prophet Bradley.
And this is an entrepreneurial, inspirational story too, because again, you know, I'm a real estate retail guy. You know, that's what my skill set is. But I'm a businessman, so I was like, you know, we're gonna do it. You know, sometimes when you got a dream, you won't have all the answers on how you're gonna do what you're gonna do.
What made this one unique was not so much the crime, but the intertwining with Detroit's history and the Motown era and kind of the economic decline of Detroit. And it's really the story of a family. And from some perspectives, it's has a happy ending, like you said. For others, it didn't have a happy ending.
Right.